Are you struggling to transform marketing data into revenue? In this episode, join me as we explore how industries from travel and software to zoos and banks are harnessing data for success. I'm Devin Herz. Welcome to the DMC Marketing Nugget.
Welcome to the DMC Marketing Nugget. Devin Herz, along with special guests, provide valuable marketing insights, business strategies, and hot topics to help your business succeed. Now welcome your host with the Daily Nugget Dose, Devin Herz.
My guest today is Peter Murphy-Lewis from Strategic Pete. Peter is a fractional CMO, television host, podcaster, and documentarian. Welcome to the Nugget, Peter. Great to have you here, man.
I love your show, man. I'm excited.
All right. So at the Nugget here, we're all about providing good information, business tips, marketing tips, anything that we know to help our fellow business owners out and marketers out there out. So Peter, as a fractional CMO, you're often called when a CEO, like myself, has lots of marketing data, but struggles to translate that into revenue growth. I know analytics can absolutely drive people bonkers these days, and definitely myself, when I look at numbers, I start to go crazy since we're more on the creative side. I really want to dig in to know your approach to helping companies in some of the diverse fields that you're working in. I know you do some work with travel companies, software companies, even some zoos and banks. So how do you find that clear path to grow, and give a little more background about your whole CMO platform?
Yeah. So when you say growth, my own growth or how I help my clients grow?
I'd love to, a little bit about you and then how that translates into your clients' growth would be great as well.
Right now, most of our growth is through thought leadership. So podcasts, speaking opportunities, media. You mentioned in the intro, I do TV and a documentarian. It just premiered a documentary a week ago that is just blowing up. I have 5 booked calls within 7 days of that documentary going live for a 2.0 version of it. And I mean, you can imagine, documentary is a big budget item. It's a lot of work. So right now it's just positioning my face right now as part of the brand. People trust me. I've been a CMO in one way or another for almost 2 decades since I started my own company in South America in 2007.
Very cool. Tell me a little bit about this that you're doing. Is that something that you're doing for yourself, for clients? How does that work?
It's a cool story because it came out of kind of the second question you asked me, how do I help my clients grow? So a neat project that I had back in 2020, I got recruited by an amazing CEO to come and work for a large enterprise SaaS project inside of the healthcare world. And right before, and it was right during COVID, so I couldn't go in to talk to my clients. So the way that grew, we grew that brand and repositioned that brand for it to be sold and exited in 2023 was through a podcast. And the podcast ended up giving us opportunities to take the podcast to trade shows where we got all expenses paid, and then became a keynote speaker more than 10 times over a year. And one of those keynote speaking opportunities turned into a conversation with the president of the association, who said, "Hey, Peter, I know that you're a TV host, a TV face, a TV talent in South America, and you show off people's unique jobs, their trades. It's kind of like a mix of Dirty Jobs, Mike Rowe with Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations. It's kind of between those two places in the sweet spot." And they said, "Why don't you do this in the healthcare space since you've done it?" And so that's how the documentary was born. Now, the documentary actually ended up happening after we exited in that private equity turnaround project. And I asked the buyer of the company if they wanted to do it. And they said, "No, go do it on your own." So what I was doing is marketing for one company. I ended up doing on my own. I didn't know if I was ready, but it was a really, really cool project. We did a 7 mini docuseries. Each episode is about 15 minutes, and we show off the faces of caregivers in America's senior living communities.
Yeah, and actually, my project director was doing a little bit of research on you, and she had mentioned that she absolutely loved the documentary and watched every single episode. She's like, you got to let them know that. So this is
Thank you.
from Crystal from our side. She said, it's awesome. It's amazing. So definitely, catch it if you're out there, you can see it. And the fact that you're doing that for caregivers, it's got to be gratifying for you as well. And I know that business isn't always about making money. It's about doing things that you really enjoy and love. So I'm sure that's really gratifying to you to really help spread that story. That's great work.
I love it. The documentary is called People Worth Caring About. And I put caring about because normally we'd use the preposition people worth caring for,
Right.
which would be America's seniors. But this is about the caregivers. And, this was done on a bootstrap budget because I didn't have the backing of my previous employer or client with the private equity. So I had to do it on my own inexpensively for the CEO. And one of the cameras was with my cell phone, Devin.
Okay.
And a great feedback, Crystal's feedback is really great, beautiful to me. But I got a message this morning on Facebook from a person who said, Peter, I binge watched it. And I want you to know you changed my mind about what I thought about senior living communities. And I look forward to working with caregivers like the people you interviewed. So that kind of real feedback that Crystal gave me is why I keep doing it.
You're changing lives and changing. Yeah, that's what we love to do. If we can help people and bring that message forward for them to learn new things, that's really amazing. And you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that you kind of set yourself up as the face of the brand. And we know about personal branding. That's a lot of what we do at our agency, is just help build the notoriety, get that face person out there, someone that's credible, someone that you can trust, and all that good stuff that really goes into that personal brand of your company. Can you walk us through a little bit of that approach and how that can be more impactful this day and age than some of the traditional advertising that's out there?
Yeah, I would preface it by saying, if somebody in this audience immediately says, I'm an introvert, I'm a quiet CEO, or I'm a pretty private CEO, my net worth is serious, or I want to be careful with my family or kids. This doesn't have to be you when we talk about being a thought leader and being the face of a brand, right? For the healthcare project that I was talking about, I wasn't the CEO of the company. I wasn't even an investor in the company, but that leadership realized that it was okay to, empower me to be that face. And it was a lot less expensive for an enterprise SaaS company to position a person, a likable person, a person like you, Devin, who, is curious and asks questions and is vulnerable and, shares accolades, what Crystal thinks about you and my team. And like you and I might have the same, clients, Devin, but you don't care. You want to share the space with other people. That is a huge opportunity because people follow people. People want to follow people. That's why ads are expensive on LinkedIn or ads are expensive on Facebook. But if you know how to position a person as part of the brand or a couple people in your leadership as person of the brand, it's a lot less expensive because, like on the ad side, that's advertising. That is not branding. If you're just paying to be in front of someone, that's not longevity. That's not a long-term sustainable play. But if people fall in love with Devin and the way that you ask questions and the way that you give space to other people, they follow you. I subscribe to your YouTube, right? Because of who you are. And if you would have put a YouTube in front of me with the name of your company, likelihood of me falling in love with Devin's storytelling abilities would cost you a lot more money.
Yeah, I think we see that on a regular basis, and we're constantly testing and measuring things, and things are constantly changing all the time. So what is working best? And it does always seem to be, if you put a product out there, if you're making a blatant message about your business, then get a couple little likes here and there. But when I'm on my boat, being casual, being myself, hanging out, just talking, having conversation, boom, the views skyrocket. The amount of time people are spending on those videos are crucial. And now you had mentioned that the owner does not necessarily have to be that face. Obviously, if you're comfortable being in front of the camera, it takes discipline, it takes time, it takes effort to do this on a regular basis. I know when things get busy for us, that's usually what slacks, my personal content, getting in front, educating. So that's why we do the show, to make sure that we do have enough content going out on a regular basis. But nowadays, you can find that spokesperson. You can even use some of the AI techniques out there to have someone that looks like the part of, your clients, and being that face. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there this day and age to really harness that and create a social plan, a video content plan that keeps you front and center and keeps your business front and center with more of a personal approach. So love that. And, when you're talking about selecting, whether it be someone from a leadership team to act as the company's voice, is there specific qualities that you're looking for? How do you really determine the best channels to connect with that ideal customer profile? And I think that's a big point too, because it's not all about what us as owners of a business like, not about what your team likes. Yes, you have to buy into it, but it's so important to understand it's about what your audience likes and making sure that you understand them so well. So if you can go ahead and kind of fill me in a little bit on what your thoughts are in there, how to connect with that ideal customer profile that you may be going after.
I'll attempt to answer it kind of twofold. The first one, which you said, which is kind of like what is the content that they need, what do they want to hear from you, how do you position yourself, and then maybe talk about the platform as well. Sure, yeah. The first thing that comes to mind when you mention that, like what is the content that they need to be educated on, what is the pain point? For me, in my case, like I do enough pro bono consulting on different platforms that I just know what everyone's pain point is. So I usually ask people on those platforms. One of them is growthmentor.com, where I paid as a mentee for 6 months before I became a mentor. And now I've done hundreds of free. Well, I just ask those people, hey, can I record this call and then use some of this content for what I'm creating for my prospects, for my YouTube, for my LinkedIn? And, if they say, hey, of course, don't use my name, or of course, don't use my metrics, but I already have content right there. So it's a simple way. Like if you don't want to talk in front of a camera, and, like if you don't want to be a TikToker, you don't want to talk on your own, just go solve people's problems and be helpful. One of the things my team currently doing is finding those problems inside of Reddit, given that there's been a big change in what's happening with SEO in the last year with the Google updates. Well, now we're just going to go to Reddit because that's where Google's given the traffic. Go read the problems instead of just answering right there. Turn it into a video, share your screen, walk through how you would do it, and then give that back away to Reddit. And then you're going to get extra karma points. So that is one example. If you don't have the opportunity to know exactly what your clients or your prospects pain point is, well, then I would just go straight out and ask them, right? Yeah. So when I go to a convention, the example of when I had the podcast, I would go to these conventions. I was selling electronic healthcare records. Do you think anybody at a convention wants to rip off a Band-Aid and change to their electronic healthcare records? That is not their pain point.
So sexy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Their pain point is staffing. So what am I good at that helps them with their pain point, whether they need electronic healthcare records or not? Well, I'm really good at LinkedIn, and I'm really good at Sales Navigator, and I'm really good at AI tools around LinkedIn to help grow your personal brand. And since we're talking about personal brand, LinkedIn is a perfect place to do that. Well, I would just go teach people how to poach students from community colleges and pull them into healthcare, because they're going to be great CNAs. They're the right socioeconomic class. They might not know exactly what they want to do, or they need to be paying, they need to be working while they're studying, type of thing. And you can target them very organically with doing that with your connections, change your banner. So the way that I found it, by going to a convention, because I couldn't help them around the product. I don't know anything about electronic healthcare records. Right. Like I can't solve their workflow problems, right? I can't help them with regulation or with billing, but I can help them with staffing. And that is actually a bigger problem than they have. And then they would fall in love with the brand. Beautiful. So just go ask your customers, what are you struggling with?
That's a huge nugget right there, right? I mean, it's so important to understand what the challenges are that they're facing, and then be able to cater that content to your audience. Reddit, that's something that I've never really dabbled in, and there's so many platforms, but I was just watching something about that too, of how you can create articles on there that pose questions, get people to have conversations with you, and then you can obviously investigate too what some of those hot topics are of people that are asking out there. So I'm going to kind of go off script here a little bit, not that we have a
I have
full
one
script,
small
but
I have
yeah,
one
go ahead,
small
go ahead.
follow-up on that.
Yeah.
So for one client, we just created a landing page on Reddit for them to bring in all of the customer support questions that people are asking, and
Okay.
they're answering them there in a public format. And that's helping with their traffic and obviously trust and transparency. Sorry for the interruption.
No, heck yeah. No, that's to me, that's what I want to hear because as I mentioned to you before we started, I love this because we learn stuff all the time from our guests. And for those of you out there listening, you can do what you want with this, but use some of these nuggets to implement into your business, get the most out of our conversations and what we're hitting on, because Reddit is something that everyone's, oh, I got to be on Facebook, got to be on TikTok, I got to be on Instagram, and you're missing some of the ways that people are actually now getting traffic because those questions are phrased in the way that people are now typing that into Google, or even some of the voice questions that people are asking. So now all of a sudden those articles are moving to the front of the search engines. You're getting traffic to that, which then to get traffic to your landing pages, whatever that may look like. But I think that's huge, and I think that's great. I want to be a little bit selfish here too, because you said you're a master at LinkedIn. LinkedIn's great. We have a handful of followers. I've noticed a lot lately that we do great content. We're hitting on some of those key terms. We're using some hashtags. But then I'm like, it only got out to 80 of my thousands of connections that are seeing this. So other than putting dollars behind this and making all these social media platforms rich, is there anything that you're seeing that's working on LinkedIn right now to get more exposure to the content that you're creating?
Yeah, two things. So in your case, you already have so much content from this podcast. The first thing I would recommend is just have your team take 3 clips that there was either emotional reaction from me or emotional reaction from you when we're engaging, and translate that over to your voice using ChatGPT with your voice. So set up a context library. Who's your ICP? How do you solve their problems? Where are they at? What do they think about? Put that in and say, turn this into a written script, make sure it sounds like you, and post it. You already have the content. Just teach the AI how to translate it over to your voice in written, and talking about that. And then in the comments, send people to the clip.
That's awesome.
Write it up on your blog, send people to go read it if they want to read it as well. If they don't, if they're in a meeting and they can't listen to something, or they can't watch the podcast, or it's disrespectful, they can still read a blog, or they can take away something on your website. So send me your website. The second thing, and I know that you're going to be great at this. And I realize that, and I think that there are not enough marketers or strategists or salespeople at it, which is tagging people, giving shout outs, share the accolades. So one of the ways to grow is talk about the people that you admire, and you're doing, tens and 20 of amazing podcasts every quarter. Tag those people, tag the tools that you're using, tag the people who help you. Tomorrow, if my CTO jumps on a call and helps you out with your HubSpot attribution around podcasting or whatever it is, or helps you with podcast searching, since we do a bunch of podcasts, then, or the ChatGPT context library, then go see if my CTO has a series, uses LinkedIn. If they do, tag them and say, I just learned something I didn't know that's new to me, which I thought as a marketer I should. Context library. Let me explain it. And then you say, I want to tag Peter's CTO. Her name is Lena. Then you tag Strategic Pete. You tag me saying, thanks, Peter, for the introduction. You guys just saved me 5 hours a week in doing this, and I can't wait to see the results. So shouting out people who are actively on LinkedIn that are close to your ICP will grow your audience really quickly, the content you already have.
I love that too, man. That's really smart. And of course, when we're posting things about our podcast, we're tagging our guests, but just going beyond that as well. And then just in those casual, sounds like more of a text type of post that you're putting out there that drives to these different podcasts, content, blogs, whatever it is that you're putting out there. So I think we get so caught up in what the visual looks like, what the video is doing, so the content people still do read can definitely be a way to increase your overall views on those different posts that you're doing.
Yeah, three more things kind of related to that. One is put a loom in the comments. So loom whatever you worked on and let the person go see you in action. The second thing is I find that LinkedIn newsletters work pretty well, especially if you want to punch up. So for one of my private equity clients that I've been working with, one of the growth strategies is, hey, we need to get big people at conventions to look to us. They have a big following at LinkedIn. So we created a newsletter where all we do is we go 9 months ahead of time and we find what is a big convention in our space. So we were doing digital assets. So we did SEO, Amazon FBA, agencies, SaaS. We would find what are the 5 or 10 conventions that are happening 9 months out. We'd find the keynote speakers, and then we only did a bi-monthly newsletter, and we tagged the keynote speakers saying they're talking about this. Make sure you consider this convention. So we were doing a favor for the convention organization. They reshared it. We're doing a favor for the keynote person. They shared it. And then everyone who follows them sees us and subscribes because we are curating a newsletter in the niche that they're interested in.
Yeah, I always say social media has that word social in there. And if you're just posting your own stuff and you're not involving others or commenting and playing that area where you're actually leaving those nice comments and interacting with people and then doing all the wonderful nuggets that you just shared there, that I think is huge. And those little things that we may not know about can change the entire focus and the results of your social media, because we hear it all the time. I mean, I'm a big direct mail guy. Always direct mail doesn't work. Oh, social media doesn't work. Well, you're probably not doing it the right way. So learning from this and being able to use these tools to help build your audience more, I think is crucial, Peter, and really appreciate you sharing that. Now, back to your TV show, your documentary that you're doing, and some podcasts to grow your agency. Where do you feel like which platform has worked best for you? Is there anything out there that you want to share that might benefit from similar strategies to what you've implemented? And I know you've already shared some of that, but if you want to expand upon it, go ahead.
Yeah. So for our particular consulting agency, right, we're specifically helping CEOs who are not managing their marketing or do not want to manage their marketing. We plug into their system. So that ICP for me is on LinkedIn. Okay. So that there's not a single call that I get on for a first prospect call or an audit call that the person does not share that they've been following me on LinkedIn and they like what I am sharing. So LinkedIn is number one, definitely. The two areas that we are now starting to explore outside of podcasts, and podcast is, unless you have a large audience like you, Devin, most of the podcast work that I'm doing is repurposing the podcast that I'm on more efficiently than the actual podcast host. In your case, in this case with you, it's not. You have a bigger audience than what I'm probably going to be able to pull off. But mostly, you're just repurposing it. So LinkedIn is top. The second things for me is Reddit, which is more exploratory, just because I have really blown up on SEO in the last 2 years, both for my clients and for me. But SEO is in trouble with AI and it's in trouble with Google. Yeah. So I'm putting a percentage of my team's time into Reddit. And, we have a landing page. I have clients who are they don't even have a website. When you go to their URL, it's going to their Reddit and they're using that as their sales page. And then the third item is YouTube. So we're designing lots and lots of content. We're writing one script every single day around a trending topic in Google News that has high amount of search, and we're translating that written topic from a national media outlet into video content into two forms, into a reel, so less than 60 seconds. So if we get discoverability, and then something that's more valuable and a little bit more drawn out, and that's 3 to 8 minutes of me talking about the article, giving my reaction, giving a shout out to the person that did it, and explaining it to a CEO. Once again, I'm talking about topics that a CEO doesn't understand or doesn't want to understand, explaining why they should consider it.
Yeah, that's music to my ears because we've been talking internally, and as you know, it's so fast. Everything is changing so quickly. Who would have ever thought Reddit would be where you're having your landing pages and that type of focus? I over Joe from my team is awesome as far as on the creative side, and that's been one thing that he's recommended. He's like, we got to jump on these trending topics. By the time you get to some of it, it's too late. So putting our marketing spin on it, what's going to relate to the business owner and our audience that we're constantly going after, and just trying to get more eyeballs on some of the content that we're providing. So I think that is key too, to be able to jump on those trending items and finding those on Reddit or some of the different aspects out there that you can do some searches to see what's trending. I think is a great way to find out what those topics are that you want to talk about, because I know that can be a struggle for many people is, okay, yeah, I'll get in front of camera, but what am I saying? What am I going to talk about? So is there anything else there other than Reddit that you're using to just figure out what the trending hot buttons are these days?
Yeah, for me, it's only those three items. To be honest, I don't even know if we have a handle in Facebook, a profile in Facebook for the company. Uh, if we have one on Twitter or an X, it's only so that someone else doesn't take it. Anything on Facebook or Twitter right now is all personal branding. For
Uh-huh.
my B2C companies, I'm testing iterations of the examples that I just gave you. So yesterday I had a call with a client who I've been with for 5 years. They're B2C. 90% of the revenue is B2C, and they are growing into B2B and corporate. And I said, well, here's what we're going to do. You're already killing it in Facebook. We're going to translate that material over to your personal LinkedIn profile. And this person is the COO of the company. So she's not the face. This is going back to the very first thing you and I talked about. You don't have to be the owner, and you just have to be consistent. And we had this conversation about how she could translate what she's doing well in Facebook over to LinkedIn for corporate, change your banner, change the style, who's your ICP there. And it's a little bit written. And she's posted 3 times since I spoke to her yesterday at 7 o'clock. And I
Okay.
can already see that she's killing it. She's
Okay.
already killing it. And she's doing the Loom video. She's sharing a screenshot of some type of internal interaction between her and a client, or her and a teammate, and putting arrows on it and highlights on it. And that
Sure.
just helps when you go to LinkedIn, you see something that looks a little bit rustic. It looks a little bit TikTok. It doesn't look like it came from Shutterstock.
Mhm.
That's working for me. And I'm pretty sure it's going to help with this client as well.
Yeah, and that's what we love. I mean, that's what we do for our clients, is making them stand out. So the content sometimes isn't the problem. It's how you structure that content, because yeah, we do these awesome images, videos, but we're only getting X number of people to see that. And I think that's where there's also a shared responsibility from our clients, because they're the ones in that local area. They're the ones that have the friends that are in the same industry that they are, similar audiences. So it's important for them to be involved in this as well. We'll take the heavy lifting on, we'll get the content created, we'll get it posted, but they ultimately need to be tagging, going ahead and adding people in there, having those conversations that they can only have because they know their business best.
Yeah.
So I think that's really awesome. Before we end the show, is there anything else out there that's hot right now? Anything else that you want to share with our audience?
While I think on that, I'll give you just one small follow up
Yeah.
on the B2C example, and you talking about let them do what they're good at. So for that client, we don't manage their organic social media. They're great. When I started working with them 5-ish years ago, I think they had 20,000 followers on Facebook. Now they're north of 100,000. But what we do is we take their great on the ground organic content, and we 2x it, we 3x it, we 4x it better into PPC. So my wife runs all of their ads, and 20 to 30% of their revenue is coming from only Facebook ads. And they didn't have pixels set up. They didn't have attribution set up when we started. So that's an example of going back to, like, we don't get into the weeds of what they know their voice better, but we know how to perfect it when we need to 10x that reach.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Something else trendy that I like. I think it all comes back to kind of the basics, Devin. I sound like a broken record when I say this to my son or to my team, which is I think that there's some human basics that translate to everything in marketing and overlap with the revenue team, which is people want to be connected and people want to be understood. And though I just try to translate that over to marketing all the time, just going back to basics. Now, what is the actionable trendiness for me is there's a huge dark social funnel going on right now. So go back and figure out where there's a community where there's no attribution that you can be helpful. If that's on Reddit and there's no attribution, if it's in a Discord channel and there's no attribution, if it's in Slack and it's in a distribution, if it's a paid Facebook, none of this matters. Go in and be helpful. And with helpful, the person's going to be understood and they're going to feel connected to you.
There you have it right there. So tell me a little bit more about the clients that you like to work with, who your target audience is, and then if someone wants to find out more about you, how they should get in touch with you or check you out online.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Strategic Pete, the name of my agency, we work with CEOs who want us to plug into their revenue team when they don't want to manage marketing or marketing is not working for them and they want a return on investment. So our clients are between the $2 million to $10 million annual revenue. Generally speaking, we have bigger. We work with 2 private equities. We work with venture-backed companies and diverse. I find that what our uniqueness is that we work across different industries because it allows us to solve problems that instead of being in the trenches. So I've worked with 3 banks in the last 5 years. I've worked with 4 zoos in the last 5 years and 2 private equities and a whole bunch of startups that are venture backed and really scaling in the SaaS area. Thank you for letting me share the plug.
Yeah, no, I love it. Love your whole demeanor and just the fact that you like to have fun with this. And that's what I think life is all about, is enjoying what we do, being able to get that gratifying feeling of, hey, we are helping businesses out. And that's what we love to see. And a lot of some of our work has been recently with some of these charitable events and some of these things where we're doing stuff to help people understand about cleaning our oceans. That stuff is just awesome. And we can get behind something like that. It's just an amazing feeling. So really appreciate it. And is there an email, website, or anything, or Reddit that you want to send people to?
The easiest place is LinkedIn. As far as I know, I continue to be the only Peter Murphy Lewis on LinkedIn. Connect with me there. I don't reject any connections, even the people who try to fill my DMs full with nasty sales. I accept all of those people. I just laugh at their bad cold outreach. And if Growth Mentor sounds helpful, reach out. I'll give you a free coupon and we can jump on a call and I'll help you out there.
All right. We'll make sure we include that in the description of the show here. So really appreciate it. Awesome to have you on and meet you. There you have it, guys and girls. Now have some amazing nuggets from the Strategic Pete man himself. So those nuggets right there could help you source. So don't just listen, take action, build better systems for your business and for your life. And that is another awesome DMC Marketing Nugget in the books. So go ahead, smash that like and follow button and listen to us on your favorite podcast streaming apps and visit dmcmarketingnugget.com to watch all of our shows. Here's to your success. So there you have it. You now have some amazing nuggets from the man himself, Strategic Pete, to help you soar. Don't just listen, take action, and build a better system for your business and life. Another killer DMC Marketing Nugget in the book. So go ahead, smash that like button, give us a follow, spread the love, listen on your favorite podcast streaming apps, and visit dmcmarketingnugget.com to view all of our episodes. Here's to your success.